This is part 3 of Grave Dust and Gunpowder, an original audiobook series from Whispers Between Worlds. We upload daily. Stay close, the fire's spreading. Chapter 39. The Bones Don't Lie. The scream didn't fade. It folded, bent into itself like a lung collapsing in slow motion, dragging the canyon into a silence that felt less like peace and more like a verdict. Eustace stood tall as body, a cathedral of regret, twisted bones wrapped in flame, each rib carved with ancient promises that had never been kept. And the girl? She walked right into the storm like it was hers. Maria's blade glowed faintly in her palm. Not from heat, from memory. She saw Melissa's face in the fire. Not as she died, but as she chose it. "You think she planned this?" she asked, her voice dry, throat raw from dust and fear. Alana didn't look away from the spiral-born. She planned for something, maybe not this. And if she didn't, then we improvise. The girl stopped 10 feet from Eustace. He loomed above her, claws twitching like spires cracking under pressure. Flames wrapped around his head like a broken halo. "You are unfinished." "So were you," the girl replied. The spiral scar on her chest pulsed once, twice, then began to spin. The canyon shifted. Not the rocks, not the ground, time. Suddenly there were buildings, half burned. People, crying, chanting, running. Wormstone as it was a century ago, alive and sick with faith. And in the center of it all, Melissa, Ivy, a spiral on the wall behind them. And Eustace, still human, still grinning. Maria gasped. "This is the first ritual." "No," said the girl, "it's the first lie." The memory shifted. Melissa's fire never spread. Ivy never fell. Eustace was never bound. Instead, he stepped aside, let them believe, let them forget. Alana turned, eyes wide. He let Melissa think she killed him. "Because it was easier," the girl said. "He knew it would grow better in shadow." The real canyon snapped back. Eustace roared, his bones cracking louder than thunder. But the girl didn't flinch. She raised her hand. "This time we end the spiral." And Wormstone cracked open beneath their feet. Chapter 40. Beneath the spiral. The ground didn't just split. It peeled. As if the canyon floor was nothing but a scab on something older, deeper, hungrier. The spiral beneath wasn't carved, it was alive. It pulsed with rhythm, with purpose, with names. Alana felt it in her ribs, like her bones were being tuned to a song only the dead could hum. Maria grabbed the girl's arm. "If we go down there, we don't come back the same." "We haven't been the same since Crossvale," the girl said, voice steady. "I'm not talking about us." "I know," she whispered. "I'm talking about me." Eustace didn't follow. He watched. Like a father watching his child finally open the door, he always told her never to touch. All children return to the source. "Then maybe it's time the source dried up," Alana snapped. The girl stepped into the spiral's opening. Alana followed. Maria hesitated for only a second, then dove. The descent wasn't like falling. It was like remembering. Each step they took down into the spiral was a step through their past. The dust whispered names in Melissa's voice. The stones wept blood that smelled like Ivy's perfume. Maria saw Neat smiling in the shadows hole, happy. Alana saw Melissa holding the girl as a baby, humming through cracked lips. The girl saw herself, reaching out from the fire, a second version, untouched, unbroken. She stepped past it. At the base of the spiral, there was no floor, just a chamber made of light and bone. Thousands of Bones children, animals, priests, sinners, arranged like scripture. In the center stood an altar, and above it, a cradle, empty, waiting. "This is where he was born," the girl said. "No," Maria whispered. "This is where you were." Alana circled the altar, slow, gun raised. "You think she gave birth here?" "Melissa never carried her," the girl said. "Not in the way you think." She placed her hand on the cradle. It screamed, not out loud, in everything. The walls cracked, the spiral flared. Eustace roared above, his cry sinking into the chamber like a final warning. The spiral demands a child. Then it chose wrong, the girl said. She lifted the cradle, crushed it in her hands. And for the first time in centuries, Chapter 41, the spiral breaks both ways. The moment the cradle shattered in the girl's hands, the world responded like a nerve struck by a blade. The spiral beneath her feet pulsed once, then twisted inward, not collapsing, but reversing. It no longer reached for power, it reached for origin. Dust rose in slow, spiraling arcs, and the floor beneath them lit with a pulse that did not belong to light or fire, but to remembrance. Alana stumbled back as the altar split open. The bones embedded in the walls began to crack and shift, rearranging into shapes not meant to be name spines bent the wrong way, skulls with too many eyes, limbs that moved with insect twitch precision. Every motion made a sound like dry teeth grinding in a tin cup. "It's reacting," Maria said, her blade already drawn. "It's not supposed to react." "It's not the spiral anymore," the girl whispered. "It's the thing behind the spiral." "Eustace?" Alana asked. "No," the girl answered, what even he was afraid of. Then came the voice. Not spoken, not heard, known. "Daughters of dust, you were never meant to leave." The chamber plunged into darkness. Alana flicked the lever on her rifle, but the chamber didn't click, it hissed. The sound sucked away before it could echo. Maria spun toward the wall where light last lived. Something stood there now. Not Eustace. Not human. Just a shape vague, ancient, wide-shouldered and shifting between flesh, cloth and roots. A remnant. "Is that what made Eustace?" Alana asked. "It's what was here before him," the girl replied. "He didn't birth the spiral. He was just the first fool to feed it." Maria stepped in front of them both, blade flashing with remembered blood. "Then what's it want?" "To continue," the girl said. "Always. Through me." The remnant lifted its head if it had a head, and they saw its face. Or rather, faces. Dozens of them. Melissa, Ivy, Neat, children, elders, Maria herself. All flickering across the surface of the thing, speaking in unison without mouths. "You were built from our failures. You will become our victory." The spiral beneath them glowed white-hot, then shattered. Dust exploded upward like reversed fire. Alana tackled the girl away as the ground where she stood erased itself. In its place, a gaping pit, endless, screaming. Not from pain, from longing. From the edge of the void, the remnant reached for them. Not with hands, with names. Maria felt it touch her memories, Neat's laugh, Melissa's tears, the smell of iron on fire. She screamed and slashed blindly. The blade struck smoke. "Don't listen to it," the girl shouted. "It can't take you unless you agree." Alana fired 3 times. Nothing landed. Then the girl stood up, hand bleeding, spiral scar burning like an open furnace. "You want me?" she shouted. "Then take everything." She stepped forward and jumped. Into the pit. Into the longing. Into the remnant. Maria reached after her, but missed. "No!" Alana grabbed her by the arm and held her back. The pit pulsed once. Twice. Then, it collapsed. Like it had never been there. They were alone in the chamber. No spiral. No cradle. No remnant. No girl. Just silence. And a slow rising dread. Because something still echoed down here. And it wasn't finished. Chapter 42. Nothing human left. The climb to the surface felt longer than it had the first time. Maria didn't speak. She gripped the wall with one hand, her blade with the other, knuckles white. Alana followed behind, quiet too, but her silence was different. It wasn't grief, it was watching. They both felt it. The absence. The girl was gone, and the spiral was shattered, but something still stirred. And when they reached the canyon rim again, they saw it. Eustace, still alive, but no longer pretending to be anything close to a man. He was crouched where the altar had once been. The skin that clung to his bones was stretched and thin, blackened like old parchment. Faces blinked along his chest, some screaming. Some praying, some simply weeping. None of them were his. He looked up, no longer towering, no longer burning, just waiting. "Where is she?" he rasped. The voice was quieter now. No thunder, no storms, just ash and gravel. "Gone," Alana answered. "She jumped into what you ran from." "Then you've ruined it all." Maria stepped forward, blade down. "You never cared about her. You just wanted something to hide behind." Eustace tilted his head slowly. "You think this was about control, power, fear?" He stood, still tall, still wrong. But something had changed. Not in his body, in his spirit. This was about continuation. "I made the spiral so I wouldn't have to be forgotten." He opened his arms. Dozens of spiral-born began to rise around him, half-born, malformed creatures crawling from the canyon cracks. Their skin was stitched together with prayer ribbons, their eyes empty sockets with spirals swirling in the dark. Maria raised her blade. Alana cocked her rifle. "Then let this be your last memory," Alana said. Eustace smiled, and the wind shifted. The spiral-born charged. Alana fired rounds, cracking skulls, dropping 2 in the dirt. Maria sliced through the first that reached her, pivoted, ducked, drove her blade upward into a spiral-born's mouth. But they kept coming, faster, crazier, like something had snapped in their bones and turned them feral. Eustace watched, hands open, body swaying. He didn't fight, he fed. Every drop of blood that hit the dirt glowed briefly, then vanished absorbed into the ground beneath him. His chest began to pulse, his ribs bent outward like wings starting to bloom. "He's building a body," Maria shouted. "Then stop giving him one," Alana yelled back. A spiral-born leapt onto Alana's back. She rolled, crushed it, but 2 more were already closing in. One grabbed her rifle. She let it go, drew her knife, and stabbed it in the throat. Maria was panting, bleeding from the side, blade still slick but slowing. "There's too many," she said. "Then we take him out first," Alana growled. They pushed, forward cutting, firing, bleeding, reaching for Eustace. But the more they moved, the more spiral-born spawned. Dozens now, then hundreds. And Eustace still standing, still smiling. "You've killed gods before," he said, "but you never buried them deep enough." Maria faltered. Alana screamed. And just as the spiral-born swarmed them, the canyon floor cracked again. A column of white flame erupted, and she was back. The girl, eyes glowing, skin burned but whole, spiral scar spinning like a sun. "You want memory, Eustace?" she said, floating above the stone. "Then remember who made you bleed." Eustace stepped back, afraid. And the fire surged. Chapter 43. When Fire Remembers. The light that followed the girl's return wasn't just flame. It was memory turned inside out, every scar, every betrayal, every whispered prayer carved into Wormstone's stone and bone, blazing back to life with her as the torch. She hovered inches above the canyon floor, spiral on her chest blazing like a sunrise trapped in a war. The spiral-born paused. Not in confusion. In recognition. They'd seen her before. Or something like her. Eustace stumbled backward. His bones, once proud and massive, began to crack not from blows, but from guilt. The fire that burned behind the girl wasn't vengeance. It was truth. "You were never a god," she said. "You were just a memory so loud, it tricked everyone into calling it sacred." "They made me!" Eustace roared, voice raw, and now nothing left of thunder, only ruin. "They fed me! Their fears, their guilt, their dying words!" "And you stayed fed," the girl replied. "You ate them. You wore their faces. You made your own grave and called it a kingdom." Maria and Alana rose slowly behind her, both bloodied but alive, backs lit by the rising glow. "What do we do?" Maria asked. The girl turned. "We help him remember what it means to die." The spiral-born hissed as the canyon walls themselves began to shimmer. Figures emerged, not monsters. Memories. Ivy's shadow, holding the real spiral. Melissa, holding the baby the girl as a beacon, not a weapon. Neat, laughing with Maria beneath moonlight. Faces from Crossvale, from the Flatlands, from every town touched by the curse. Each one stood between them and Eustace, not to fight. To witness, Eustace shrieked, louder than ever before. "No, I am the root! I am the fire!" He reached out one final time. The girl took a step forward. So did Alana. So did Maria. 3 women. No gods. No chains. No lies. The canyon cracked beneath Eustace's feet. He fell to one knee. Then the girl lifted her hand and, for the first time, she didn't call the spiral. She let it go. Light poured out from the ground, engulfing the spiral-born. One by one, they remembered who they were before, and disintegrated. Eustace looked up, one last time, and saw himself. Not a god, not even a man, just a frightened soul who couldn't bear to be forgotten. "You were never worshipped," the girl whispered. "You were feared. That's not the same." And with that, she closed her eyes. The fire surged. Eustace opened his mouth to scream, but the flame entered first, and he burned from the inside out. When the fire died down, the canyon was empty. Only 3 remained: the girl, Alana, Maria, all standing beneath a quiet sky that finally felt still. "Is it over?" Maria asked. The girl looked to the ash blowing softly across the stone. "No," she said, "but he is." And for the first time since the spiral was born, Wormstone didn't whisper anything back. Chapter 44. The Smoke That Stayed. The 3 of them stood in the center of Wormstone Canyon, surrounded by ash, silence, and the ghosts that refused to leave. Even with Eustace gone burned to smoke and memory, something hung in the air. Not evil, not power. Grief, like the canyon itself, had lost a piece of its own shadow. Maria walked slowly through the remains, blade lowered, wiping blood from her face with a trembling hand. "It's not right," she said. "It should feel over." Alana kicked a charred ribcage aside. "Some monsters don't die with noise, they die with echoes." The girl remained quiet, still glowing, faintly, still holding whatever was left of the spiral inside her. They made camp at the edge of the ridge. There was nowhere else to go, not yet. The towns nearby had seen the flames. Some might come, most wouldn't. Alana built a small fire. Maria sat cross-legged beside it, sharpening a knife that didn't need sharpening. The girl stared into the dark. "He's not the last," she said. "Spiral-born?" Alana asked. She shook her head. "Number people like him. Hungry? Lonely." Maria looked up. "You think they'll come for you?" "They always do." "Then we'll be ready." The stars began to blink through the smoky sky. For a moment, they looked like old eyes, watching through cracked glass. Alana leaned back, one arm over her face. "We keep going?" "We keep moving," Maria replied. The girl finally turned to them. "There's one more place we have to go." "Where?" "To where the spiral started." Alana raised an eyebrow. "You said this was it." "No," the girl said, eyes distant. "This was just where it grew, the roots still buried." Maria stood. "Then lead us." The girl hesitated. "I don't know the way." Alana smiled without humor. "We'll find it, we always do." In the distance, just past the edge of the horizon, something flickered once, a pale orange glow. Not fire, not light. A signal. Something waiting, watching. The spiral may have died in Wormstone, but it hadn't stopped spinning everywhere else. Chapter 45. The Hollow Path. They left Wormstone at first light. No words. No farewells. Just the crunch of ash beneath boots and the low creak of leather saddles as they rode into the breathless dawn. The canyon behind them didn't mourn, didn't groan, didn't whisper not anymore. Whatever life had pulsed beneath its spiral veins was now buried with Eustace, somewhere below the dust. Alana led, rifle across her lap. Her horse, a battered, dappled grey named Flint, moved slow but steady. Maria rode just behind, her left arm bandaged tight, her blade newly sharpened and sheathed across her back, and the girl still unnamed, still unknowable rode in silence, her mount as black as midnight soot. None of them spoke for hours. Not until the sun reached its throat in the sky. "Where are we headed exactly?" Alana asked without turning around. "North," the girl replied. "That's not a place." "It is if you remember it right." Maria frowned. "You said Wormstone wasn't the start, so what is?" The girl hesitated, then said one word: "Hollow." They stopped at sundown near a broken stone marker that hadn't seen a name in decades. It was the kind of town that got erased on purpose. Nothing but a rusted pump, a few crumbled chimneys, and a single rail track that curved out of the dirt like a scar. "This was Crossvale's sister town," Maria muttered, "back when the mine still had gold." "And before the fires," Alana added. "No," said the girl, "during." They dismounted. No need for sentries. Nothing lived here anymore. Only things that remember dying. They lit no fire that night. Too risky. The girl sat on a cracked stone bench once used for Sunday worship. She stared down at her hands, watching the spiral that was no longer visible but never truly gone. Alana watched her from across the shadowed square. "You sure this hollow place even exists?" "It's not a place on the map," the girl answered. "It's underneath the names. It's where Melissa went the first time she tried to leave the spiral behind." "Before you?" She nodded. "Before she burned the cradle. Before Eustace. Before all of it." "Then what happened?" "She didn't make it." Maria tossed a rock into the dirt. "Then why would we?" The girl finally looked up. "Because I'm not her." They moved again at sunrise, following what was once an old postal road now cracked and buried under windblown stone. The horizon bled orange as they passed a field of dead scarecrows, each one impaled on rusted iron poles. Crows had long abandoned them, only the wind remembered. Maria slowed her horse as they neared a ravine choked with bleached bones. "War happened here," she said. "Not war," the girl corrected. "A test." "Of what?" "Obedience." Alana muttered something under her breath. "Everywhere we go, someone's been used up and tossed aside. You sure we're not walking into another spiral?" The girl didn't answer. She didn't have to. By midday, they reached the edge of a dried lake, nothing left but black soil and crooked tree stumps jutting up like fingers reaching for mercy. And in the center of the dead basin stood a single cabin. Old, forgotten, and alive in the worst kind of way. "That it?" Alana asked, already reaching for her rifle. The girl nodded once. "That's hollow. Doesn't look like much." Neither did Eustace. Maria dismounted first. "Let's get this over with." The cabin door opened before they touched it. No wind, no force, just invitation. Inside was no furniture, no dust, no rot, only a staircase. Spiraling down, deeper than the ground should have allowed. The girl placed her hand on the doorframe. "This is where they built the first god," she said softly. "Another Eustace?" Maria asked. "Worse," the girl replied. "The one he tried to bury." Alana looked down into the dark. It pulsed once, like something had been waiting centuries for them to arrive. "Guess it's time to meet the family," she said. And they stepped into the hollow, chapter 46. Beneath the hollow. The spiral staircase inside the hollow cabin wasn't built with human hands. Each step was a slab of stone smoothed by memory, not use-etched with symbols that glowed faintly as the girl descended. Alana's boots hit each tread hard, deliberate. Maria followed slower, one hand on the wall, blade in the other, breathing shallow. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. No echoes, no wind. Even thought felt heavy down here. "It's not just a staircase," the girl murmured. "It's a timeline. Each step is a piece of what was taken." "By Eustace?" Maria asked. "By whatever made Eustace." After what felt like an hour, they reached a platform. It wasn't dirt or bedrock. It was a floor of teeth. Thousands of them, human, something else embedded in the stone like offerings. And across the room stood a door, 10 feet high, made of flesh, breathing. "That's not natural," Alana said, aiming her rifle. "Nothing down here is," the girl replied. Maria stepped closer, eyes scanning the grotesque archway. "How do we open it?" "We don't." The girl knelt beside the threshold, reaching into a slit in the floor where a single, coiled object lay waiting. A ribbon. Old, torn, covered in the same spiral sigil as her chest. "We give it what it remembers," she said. She held the ribbon up to her face, whispered one word into it. "Melissa." The door shuddered, groaned, opened inward. They stepped into a cathedral made of bone. The walls were rib cages, towering and hollow, arching toward a ceiling they couldn't see. In the center, an altar surrounded by shallow graves, each one covered in silk cloth. Some of the silk fluttered. From beneath, "This is where they buried the failed ones," the girl said. "Failed what?" Alana asked. "Spiralborn." Maria crouched beside one of the graves and gently peeled back the cloth. The thing beneath looked like a child, but wrong. Bones stretched too long, eyes fused shut, a small mouth full of human teeth too many. She covered it again. "They were trying to grow gods," she muttered. "No," the girl corrected. "They were trying to grow vessels. Eustace was the first to live long enough to escape. But this..." She looked around the cathedral. This was the true nursery. A sound echoed through the ribs. Not a voice. A lullaby. Familiar. Melissa's Brechen's Prolf. The girl spun, eyes wide. "She's here." "That's impossible," Maria whispered. "She's dead." "Then how is she singing?" They followed the sound past the altar into a corridor of twisted spines. At the end was a chamber bathed in red light. And inside it, a woman. Not Melissa, but built in her image. Taller, paler, strings of bone braided through her hair. She sat in a rocking chair made of arms, cradling something invisible, until the girl stepped closer, and the thing in her arms became real. A baby, but not human. All spiral. "I've been waiting," the woman said, eyes fixed on the girl. "Who are you?" Alana asked. She smiled. "The first cradle, the real mother." "Of what?" "Of you all." The spiral on the girl's chest began to burn. The woman stood. The baby disappeared, and the air thickened with truth. "You thought you ended the spiral," the woman whispered. "You freed it." "You're the root," the girl breathed. "I'm the soil." And the ground began to bleed. Chapter 47. The soil remembers. The ground pulsed beneath their feet, not shaking, but breathing. Warm blood seeped from the seams between the bones and teeth, running in slow, deliberate veins across the floor of the cathedral. Not fast enough to drown, just fast enough to make you realize it was alive. Maria backed up first, raising her blade. Alana followed, rifle aimed at the pale woman. But the girl, she didn't move. "You were in my dreams," she whispered. The woman smiled. "I made your dreams. Melissa tried to destroy you. She only delayed me." The cathedral trembled, ribs above them flexing like lungs. "You're not a mother," Alana said coldly. "You're a parasite. I'm legacy. You think gods are born through worship number? They're born through remembrance. You buried Eustace in ash and tears, and now he lives in every scar you carry." Maria stepped forward. "Then we cut you from memory." She lunged, but the woman didn't move. Instead, the blood on the floor surged up, not into her, into Maria. Her body locked mid-strike. A cry froze in her throat. The blood wrapped her legs, up her arms, sliding into her mouth, ears, eyes. Alana fired 3 shots. The woman didn't flinch. But Maria dropped, hard, convulsing. The girl screamed. "No!" The spiral scar on her chest burst with light. Everything in the chamber stilled. Then, a sound. Crying. Not from the girl, from the air. Dozens of voices. Melissa's, V. Oat Blanc. Ivy's. Neat. Children. All crying at once. The cathedral wept. Alana rushed to Maria's side. Blood pooled from her nose, but her eyes fluttered open. Still there. Still her. "She's in me," Maria choked. "She's trying to rewrite me." The pale woman stepped forward. "I don't need armies. I need authors. Your minds carry more weight than your weapons." "Then carry this," Alana snarled, firing directly into her chest. The bullet hit. The woman didn't fall, but she bled. Black, thick, like oil drained from memory. She smiled wider. "You think pain scares me? I was born from pain." The girl stepped between them, spiral glowing like fire now. Her voice steady. "You're not a god." "Then what am I?" "A consequence." She lifted her hand. The light pulsed outward, shattering the silence into shards. The walls cracked. The graves split open. From every corner of the cathedral, the failed spiral-born rose hundreds of half-formed children, adults, things that never were, but they didn't attack. They watched, eyes wide, waiting. The girl walked toward the woman. Each step burned with spiral light. "They're not yours anymore," she said. "They always were. Not now." She raised her other hand. The altar erupted, and from the flames stepped Melissa. Her ghost, her truth, half-burned, eyes molten, not screaming, smiling. The pale woman hissed. Melissa stepped beside the girl, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You weren't born to hold it," she said softly. "You were born to end it." The girl closed her eyes, and the spiral dimmed, for the first time, then pulsed once, and reversed. The woman screamed, not in fear, in loss. The blood turned to smoke. The failed children began to fade. But they weren't dying. They were being released. The spiral that bound them was unraveling. The cathedral groaned. The ribs cracked. The dream collapsed. The girl reached out and touched the woman's face. "You're not forgotten. You're just finished." And with that, the mother of the spiral turned to dust. Chapter 48. A hole in the world. When the pale woman vanished, she didn't die like Eustace. She didn't scream. She didn't bleed into the stone. She simply ceased. And when she was gone, the spiral went with her. No more symbols etched in bone. No more dreams bleeding through the walls. Just silence pure, unknowing silence. The cathedral groaned one last time, then caved inward like it was exhaling for the final time. The teeth in the floor cracked. The altar split. The stairwell behind them vanished in a slow fold of space, like time itself was being unwound. "We need to move," Alana barked, grabbing Maria, who was still weak from the blood possession. The girl didn't follow. She stood where the pale woman had vanished, breathing slowly, arms lowered, spiral scar on her chest pulsing like a dying star. "This is it," she said. "The route's gone." "Then we go," Maria coughed. "We've done what we came to do." "Not yet." The ground beneath them cracked not from anger, not from attack, but from release. And then, a door opened. Not a physical door, a memory. Suddenly, all three were standing on the flatlands. No transition, no smoke, no magic. Just there. In the middle of a field with grass waving in windless air, a crimson sun sat on the horizon, unmoving. The sky overhead churned with faint whispersome that sounded like prayers, others like children humming lullabies. Maria took a cautious step forward. The girl stood completely still. "This is what's left," the girl whispered. "Of them, of everything the spiral touched." Alana looked around. There were no towns, no fires, just fragments. A rocking chair, a pair of burnt boots, a child's doll with spiral eyes, a field of ghosts. One of the shadows detached itself from the stillness and walked forward. It took shape, not monstrous, just ordinary. Melissa. Again, but different. Younger, healthier, eyes calm. "You found it," she said to the girl. "You got further than I did." "You tried," the girl said. "Not hard enough." Melissa touched her shoulder. It left a streak of light on the girl's skin. "You ended the thing that used us. That fed off us, but it left pieces behind." Maria frowned. "What kind of pieces?" "Belief," Melissa said. "Grief. Those things don't vanish when the god does. They settle. They root in people." She turned to Alana. "You've seen it. In every town you passed. The worship, the fear, The way they waited for something to take control. Alana nodded grimly. They'll find new spirals. Melissa looked back at the girl. Unless you stay. The girl blinked. Stay? Here, Melissa said. In the memory. As a barrier. A story they can't follow. A god they can't touch. Maria stepped forward. No, hell no. She just got out. She earned her freedom. And she has the right to refuse, Melissa agreed. But if she stays, no new spiral will take root. No new god will rise from what was buried. The girl didn't answer. Not right away. She looked at her hands, then at the field, then at her two companions. If I go, she said, it ends. It rests. For a long time. And if I don't? Melissa didn't answer. The silence did. The girl took a breath. One last breath. Then nodded. Okay. She turned to Alana and Maria. You carry me back. In story. In warning. Don't let the next god start with kindness. Alana stepped forward, hugged her tight. Maria followed. No words. Just memory. And then, the girl stepped backward, faded into the red light. The field vanished. And Alana and Maria stood in a dead plain outside the ruins of Hollow. No spiral, no cathedral, just wind, and the sound of the world trying to forget. Chapter 49. The Road After God. They stood there a long time, just breathing. Alana didn't say anything. She couldn't. Every time she looked at the spot where the girl had been where she chose to stay, her chest got too tight, like the canyon was still inside her, folded up and glowing. Maria wiped her face, even though she wasn't crying. We were supposed to walk away with her, she muttered. We did, Alana said, voice raw. Just not how we wanted. The ruins behind them were silent. No tremble, no whispers, not even whined through broken ribs. Hollow was finally just Thath Hollow. Whatever lived beneath it, whatever used it, was now buried under a memory none of them could reach again. And yet, something still watched. Not evil, not godly, just human. The kind of watching that came from nearby hills, far off towns, those who had seen the firelight and waited to decide whether to worship or run. Maria turned slowly. Someone's following us. They've been following since Wormstone, Alana replied. They want answers. They want gods. Alana spit into the dust. They're not getting one. They saddled the horses quietly. No one asked where they were riding to. There wasn't a destination anymore, just motion, the kind that buys time. The kind that builds stories in the space between one town and the next. As they rode north, the plains began to shift. The sky brightened. Towns appeared on the horizon, Crossvale rebuilt, partially. Others new. Others older than they looked, haunted by memory instead of monsters. People came to them. Tentative. Hopeful. Afraid. They asked for the girl. They asked for the spiral. They asked for Eustace. Maria's blade stayed sharp. Alana's rifle stayed loaded. In one town, they found children sketching spiral shapes in the dust. In another, a preacher stood beneath a tent, holding a cracked mirror and claiming to hear the girl of light speaking through him. Alana almost shot him. Maria didn't stop her this time. They burned the tent down, told the people the truth. She's gone, Maria said. She gave herself up to stop what was coming. Then she's a saint? Someone asked. No, Alana replied. She was a person, and you'll treat her memory like one. Some listened, some didn't. But the two women moved on. They always moved on. One night, weeks later, Maria stared into the fire. We gonna stop? Alana shook her head. Can't? Even if no one's listening? Especially then. They both looked at the stars. For the first time since the cradle, the spiral wasn't there. No signs in the sky. No dreams bleeding into their thoughts. Just stars. Real ones. They stayed moving, from border towns to ghost crossings, teaching what the girl had left behind. That worship is dangerous. That remembrance has weight. That no god is worth more than the people trying to forget them. And slowly, the spiral faded. Not in power, but in relevance. People forgot how to draw it. Preachers stopped naming it. Children learned other stories, and the world turned. But Alana and Maria knew the truth. There was still one more town they hadn't reached yet. A place too quiet to be remembered, too old to be marked on maps. The last spot where Melissa had hidden something, the safeguard. The thing she left behind before she burned. And if the spiral ever found its way back, that safeguard would be the only thing strong enough to bury it again. So they rode, not as saints, not as heroes, but as the only two left who knew the name of the girl who stayed behind. Chapter 50. The Last Town. The map didn't show it. No road signs, no worn trail, just a gap between two dying rivers and a range of mountains that looked more like broken teeth than stone. But they knew it was there. They could feel it. Melissa's safeguard. The final chapter in a story that had outlived gods, monsters, and memory itself. Alana rode ahead, jaw clenched. The closer they got, the heavier her rifle felt, like the wood soaked in ghosts. Maria trailed slightly behind, blood dried on her collar, blade strapped to her thigh, hand never far from its hilt. The horses neighed uneasily as they reached the edge of a dead forest, black trees twisted into arches, branches like fingers. "This is it," Maria muttered. "No town in sight," Alana replied. "Not yet." They passed through the crooked trees, and the air changed. Colder, thinner, as if even the oxygen didn't want to stay. Then, past a ridge carved by wind and something older, they saw it. The town, perfectly preserved. Not ruined. Not ghosted. Not real. Houses clean, porches swept, candles flickering in windows that shouldn't have light. It looked like a photograph taken from a memory too sweet to be real. Alana dismounted first. Her boots hit the dirt like thunder. "This ain't right." "No smell," Maria whispered. "No birds, no bugs, just performance." They stepped onto the street, and the town came alive. Children ran past, laughing. Women waved from porches. A man with suspenders nodded and tipped his hat. "Afternoon, ladies." Maria didn't move. Alana raised her rifle. The man's face didn't blink, didn't breathe, just looped, over and over again. The same smile, the same nod, like a puppet caught in rewind. "They're memories," Maria breathed. "Living ones." "No," Alana growled. "They're traps." In the town square, the church doors creaked open. Someone stood inside. Not Melissa, not a preacher, not a spiral-born, just a child. But not the girl. Another. A boy, maybe 10, brown skin, wide eyes, holding a book wrapped in barbed wire. He didn't speak. He just held the book out. Maria approached carefully. "That the safeguard?" The boy nodded, but didn't hand it over. Instead, he opened it. The pages flipped by themselves, each one bleeding black ink shaped like spirals. And then the ink stopped, and a name appeared. Alana. The book dropped to the dirt. "He chose you," Maria said quietly. "Who?" "The one she left it for." Alana knelt, picked up the book. It burned her palms, but she didn't flinch. Inside the final page was a single phrase, written in blood. "If the spiral returns, bury it with this name." No ritual, no sacrifice, just remembrance. Not worship, but warning. The child vanished. The town froze. Then, as Alana closed the book, the entire town shattered. Glass, wood, dust, air, all sucked into a silent implosion of memory, gone like smoke off a fire that burned too long. And they were alone. Again, standing on the empty ridge, wind blowing through nothing. Maria turned. "So that's it?" "No," Alana said. "That's just the safe." "You gonna keep the key?" Alana looked at the book in her hands, now charred and quiet, then nodded. "Someone has to." They mounted up, rode out, past bones of trees, past wind that didn't ask where they came from. They didn't know where they were going, but they knew what they left behind. A godless land, a story with a warning, and a book that could kill the next one before it ever breathed. There would be no spiral after this. Not while they were still riding. Not while the girl remained light in the dark. Not while the name in that book still burned in ink and memory. Not while Alana and Maria were still alive. Chapter 51. Dust never forgets. The wind followed them now, not in a haunting way, not like the whispering spiral from before, but as if the world itself finally understood the weight of what they carried. Every step the horses took stirred up dust older than bones, and in it, trails of memories that refused to settle. Alana had tied the book shut with cord and canvas, lashed tight against her saddlebag. It hadn't glowed, hadn't whispered, hadn't twitched since the false town collapsed. But she still felt it breathing like it was waiting for the next mistake. Maria didn't ask about it again. Not yet. She knew what Alana was thinking. She was thinking the same thing. What if something else came? Not a spiral, not a god. Just a man too cruel, or a child too hungry, or a preacher too desperate. Something always came. They passed through Dryhook a week later. The town hadn't changed much still, half-burned from the last time they passed through, but the people, they looked different. Quieter. Calmer. The spiral marks had been scrubbed from the chapel walls. The altar had been torn down and replaced with nothing but a mirror. Not a shrine. A warning. Alana stared at it for a long time before someone approached. A woman, maybe 40, worn hands, tired eyes. "We remember her," she said. Alana didn't answer. "We remember what she gave." Maria finally spoke. "Then you remember what she took with her?" The woman nodded. "That's why we don't pray anymore." Alana let the silence hang, then asked, "Got any news?" The woman blinked. "About what?" "Anything strange." "Strange don't live here now," the woman replied. "It just passes through." That night, they camped beneath a sky that looked too big for two people. The fire crackled, but the wind didn't carry voices. It hadn't since Hollow. "You ever wonder," Maria asked, "what would have happened if we'd never stopped in Wormstone?" "Yeah," Alana said, "but I figure we'd have found it anyway. Or it'd have found us." They sat in silence for a while. Then Maria leaned forward. "You think she's still aware? In that place?" "She's not asleep," Alana answered. "She chose it. Whatever's left of the spiral, she's the lock on the door." Maria nodded. "Then we don't let anyone dig it up." "Never." The next morning, they found tracks. Not horses, not boots, bare feet. Hundreds of them. All pointed toward a mountain ridge, dry and cracked with ash. Alana knelt beside the prints. "Children," she said. "That can't be." Small, deep, they weren't walking. Maria looked up at the rising sun. It didn't feel warm. Then who the hell's leading them? They followed the trail through noon. It led to an old outpost abandoned, half swallowed by sand. Inside were rusted tools, broken beds, and a single wall of carvings. Spirals. Crude. Childlike. Hundreds of them. And in the center, one word. Return. Alana's hand found her rifle. Maria's found her blade. "It's not over," Maria said. "No," Alana whispered, eyes narrowing. "It's just hiding." They mounted up without a word. The book on Alana's saddle twitched once. Just once. Enough to remind them, gods don't need to live to be worshipped, and monsters don't need names to be reborn. So they rode, not to run, but to hunt, because someone had started drawing spirals again, and they knew damn well where that road would lead. Chapter 52. A fire still lit. The trail climbed higher into the mountain's narrow, steep, edged by stone like broken vertebrae. The bare footprints kept going. Some fresh, some dried, all of them small, unnatural in their weight. No child should have left a print that deep. The silence was heavier up here, like even the wind was holding its breath. Alana rode with one hand on the reins, the other always brushing the canvas-wrapped book strapped to her saddle. She didn't need to check it, she just needed to remind herself it was still closed. Maria said nothing, but every time she scanned the horizon, her blade glinted in the sun, already bloodstained, already thirsty. "You think it's the spiral again?" she asked finally, not turning. "No," Alana said. "It's what the spiral left behind." A survivor? A believer? By dusk, they reached a flat plateau overlooking a valley scarred by old fire. They saw it immediately. A fire pit. Still burning. No smoke. No scent. Just light. And around it children. 7, maybe 8. All standing in a circle, hands joined, heads bowed like they were praying to a memory that never stopped whispering. And behind them, a man. Or something wearing a man's shape. Long arms, crooked neck, clothes stitched from preacher's cloth and scavenged canvas. His face was covered by a mask made of melted glass spirals carved into it. Alana and Maria dismounted in silence. No need to speak. They had done this dance before. They stepped into the valley. The fire didn't flicker. The children didn't move. The masked man turned slowly, his voice soft and too clean. "Have you come to join the circle?" Alana raised her rifle. "You leading these kids?" "They follow the fire, as all things do." "You teach them about the spiral?" "I teach them to remember." Maria stepped forward, blade low and ready. "There's nothing to remember. It's over. Buried." "Ah," the masked figure said, nodding once. "But dust remembers, even when breath forgets." He stepped aside, revealing a stone at the center of the fire pit, carved with her name. The girl's, the one who stayed behind. Alana's voice dropped cold. "Where did you get that name?" "She came to me, in the glow, said she couldn't hold the door much longer." Maria stepped in. "She didn't come to you. You pulled her, with memory, with lies." The masked man didn't flinch. "Then let's test your faith." He snapped his fingers. And the fire roared, not with flame, with light. Spiral light. It blasted upward, a column of memory, turning the children into silhouettes' eyes, white, mouths open in joy or agony. The glass mask melted into the man's face, searing it shut as he began to chant. Alana fired. The bullet stopped mid-air caught in the spiral. Maria rushed forward. Her blade didn't stop. It sank deep into the man's ribs. He staggered but laughed. "You can't kill memory." Maria twisted the blade. "No," she said, "but I can erase it." And with one clean slice, she cut the spiral from his chest. The light vanished. The fire went black. The children collapsed, not dead, not bleeding, just freed. The masked man fell last. Silent, unremembered. Alana moved to the fire pit and stared at the stone. The name was still there, still burning. She unlashed the book from her saddle, opened it to the last page, and pressed the stone into it. The name dissolved. Gone. The book sealed itself, and the wind finally sighed. They buried the fire pit with their hands. No tools, no words. And when the last rock fell into place, Maria said quietly, "That was the last of it." "You sure?" Alana asked. Maria shrugged. "Don't know, but we're still here." Then so was the fight. They rode out before sunrise. The book locked. The valley still. The spiral finally quiet. Chapter 53. Riders in the hush. Night swallowed the trail behind them as they rode across the salt flats. No towns for miles. No stars, either just a low mist hugging the earth, thick enough to muffle hoofbeats, thin enough to feel like breathing memory. Maria's horse limped slightly, not injured, just tired. They all were. Alana hadn't spoken in hours. The book hadn't twitched once. Still, she kept one hand on it, like it might decide to lie again. "You think this time it's really over?" Maria asked, voice almost lost in the fog. "No such thing as over," Alana said, "just waiting." Ahead, the fog parted, revealing something standing in the road. Not a man, not a child, just a post, with a hat nailed to the top, the same hat Eustace wore. Alana dismounted slowly, rifle drawn. She circled the post. No footprints, no drag marks, just the hat. But under it, a slip of parchment. She unpinned it carefully, unfolding it with calloused fingers. 2 words burned into the page. "Not yet." Maria cursed. I thought we were done with riddles." "We were," Alana said. "This ain't a riddle, it's a promise." "From who?" Alana didn't answer. She lit the note with a match, let it curl to ash, and stared into the mist again. "Let's ride." "Where?" "Toward whoever thinks they can still draw spirals in our dirt." They rode in silence, letting the wind choose the path. Hours passed, maybe days. The sun finally rose, weak and bruised behind grey clouds. They found a settlement new built, half done, tents and wagons and tired eyes, refugees from towns burned or broken by belief. A boy saw them coming and ran to the others. They didn't run in fear. They ran to listen. Word had traveled. The two riders, the ones who ended gods. They dismounted and met the townsfolk in the center, near a dry well. Someone stepped forward, an old man, hunched but sharp. They said, "You carry the book." Alana nodded. Then they said, "Right. And that you remember her?" Maria stepped forward. "We remember everything. That's the point." The man gestured to the edge of the camp. There, crudely etched in the dirt, was a spiral. Children had drawn it. Not from worship-just repetition. Alana knelt beside it and erased it. "You don't need gods," she told them. "You need stories that end." They stayed one night, spoke around the fire, told what they could, held back what would ruin them. And when morning came, they left. Alana wrapped the book in a fresh cloth. Maria cleaned her blade. And the spiral slept again. But only because they refused to. Chapter 54. Ash in the Veins. They rode into Split Hollow at high noon. The town shouldn't have existed anymore. They burned it. Twice. But here it stood, rebuilt in quiet defiance, like the earth itself refused to forget. Same crooked bell tower, same cracked chapel windows, same wind-blown road paved with gilt and ash. Alana pulled her horse to a stop just outside the gates. Maria stared at the chapel door, eyes narrowed. "How the hell?" "Memory," Alana muttered. "It don't rot like wood." They dismounted. No townsfolk came to greet them. No eyes in windows. But the place breathed slow and hollow, like lungs made of dust. And something about that breath, it was familiar. Inside the chapel, everything was untouched. Pews in perfect rows. Altar polished like silver bone. No spiral carvings, just marks where they'd been scraped out. At the center, where Eustace had once bled beneath sermon and scream, stood a woman. Black veil, thin hands, holding a child. But neither one moved. Not at first. Then the child turned his head, and his eyes glowed with a spiral. Maria's blade came out fast. Alana raised the rifle. "Who are you?" Alana barked. The woman didn't look up. "A mother." "Whose?" "Yours." Alana blinked. "You lie. You're all children of the spiral," she whispered, "even the ones who burned it." The baby in her arms giggled. It didn't sound human. Maria moved in fast, blade aimed for the woman's neck. But the chapel pulsed. Time bent. Maria froze in mid-stride. Not paralyzed. Just held. Alana stepped forward, breathing slow. "We've buried gods," she said. "We'll bury you." "I'm not a god," the woman said. "I'm the relapse, the echo, the scar." She lifted the child, kissed his head. "He's not the spiral. He's the infection it left behind." "Then he dies now." Alana fired. The bullet never landed. The baby caught it. With his mind, eyes still glowing, still smiling, the world blinked. They were outside again. Split Hollow gone. Nothing but ash swirling where it had been. Maria fell to her knees, gasping. She's not bound by the book." Alana didn't speak. She held the book close, fingers trembling. Inside it, the name was missing. Not erased. Stolen. "There's one chapter left," she whispered. "And one thing still breathing," Maria added. They looked east, beyond the flats, past the dead towns, into the place no one ever rode. A scar on the map no cartographer dared ink. "The cradle," Alana said. The first spiral, Maria replied. They mounted up. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. What came next wasn't for yesterday. It was for endings. And the fire they'd need to burn it down was already rising in their veins. Chapter 55. We bury the fire. The road east didn't exist. Not on maps. Not in memory. Only in instinct. The horses knew it before the riders did, stepping slower, hooves uneasy, air growing dense like they were walking through the skin of something still alive. Alana didn't speak. Maria didn't need to. They both knew where they were going. The cradle. The place where the spiral had first breathed. Where the echo still whispered. Where that cursed child waited smiling with stolen memory and eyes full of fire. It took them 2 days. No sun, no night, just a slow fade from world into wound. And when they reached it, the ground was black, flat, glass-like, like the earth had once screamed and melted beneath the weight of that scream. At the center stood the child, older now, or maybe just more. His body shifted between forms: boy, girl, flame, bone, whatever made sense to whoever watched. Behind him towered a monument made from teeth and time spirals etched into its base, pulsing with each breath the child took. Maria raised her blade. Alana raised her rifle. The child only smiled. "Did you come to kill me?" he asked. His voice sounded like the girl, then like Melissa, then like Alana herself. "We came to finish what she started," Alana said. "She locked the door," he whispered. "But you never destroyed the house." Maria stepped forward. "We brought matches." The child stepped back, and the ground split open. Not fire, not blood, just story. Thousands of voices, rising from beneath the crust of the world, screaming, crying, laughing, praying. All the spiral-born. All the believers. All the might-have-beens. Alana dropped the book into the crack. It didn't fall. It rooted. And from it, light bloomed white-hot, spiralless, pure. The child screamed. But it wasn't fear. It was loss. He reached for Maria. She sliced clean through his wrist. He reached for Alana. She shot him through the mouth. Still he stood. But the ground betrayed him. Hands reached up. The forgotten ones. The spiral's victims. They pulled, dragged, tore. The monument cracked. The boy wept. And the book burned. The fire turned blue, then black, then vanished. And with it, the spiral died. For real. No gods, no echoes, no names, just ash. They stood alone again. Maria dropped her blade. Alana dropped her rifle. There was nothing left to fight, nothing left to bury, just silence and peace. They walked west, step by step. No horses, no ghosts, only story. And the fire they carried inside, finally, mercifully, gone. Whispers Between Worlds uploads daily. The spiral is over, but memory never sleeps.